Welcome to HIP, Health Insurance Personalized, or CDC, Customer Driven Healthcare. This is a healthcare segment, so called Health Gives Wealth segment. We have been talking lately quite a bit on yoga, meditation, and we'll continue to talk about in general topics as I came across a 25-year-old, I can give you his name. His name is Vidhay Reddy. I found him to be, for his age, he is very mature and very personally responsible in his personal goals, especially in regard to health, mental health. So Vidhay Reddy has come up with a routine log, folks. Routine log. That's his log. I want to share with you a routine log for mind and body. I'll go one by one. There are 26 different aspects to it, but I'll just make it as easy as possible so we can go through his routine log. His recommendation is we need to follow these guidelines to be personally responsible in physical and mental health. So let me go through one by one. These are all vices, folks. These are all vices, so-called vices. Number one, it's basically a non-vice. Abstain from subjective vices. I'm not sure what he means by that, but it seems to give the impression that abstain from certain things and which doesn't make any sense. So number two is sleep. As per his routine log, you need to have at least 6 hours of sound sleep. I agree with that because you really need to have 4 to 6 hours. When you have 4 to 6 hours, your deep sleep is only a couple of hours, but you need to have a restful sleep at least for 6 hours. That's recommended by most of the healthcare professionals. A lot of people, when they are busy, they sleep only 4 hours. They can still be active and they can still perform routine stuff, but 6 hours is recommended. And number three, thoughts. That's his wife's thoughts. This is Vidhay Reddy's thoughts. What he says, permit thoughts to arise for no less than 1 hour with no external stimulus other than typical daily task. So the thoughts, it's how can you control your thoughts? Well, normally thoughts occur when you're idle. When you're busy, your mind is preoccupied, and most of the time thoughts occur when you're lonely and you're sleeping too much or not doing much. So his recommendation is right. You should not, thoughts should be less than an hour if you're idle. So that seems to be fair. So most of the time when you're busy, you don't have an hour to think about it. So it all depends on how busy your lifestyle is. But there are folks out there that sitting in front of the TV and not doing anything. They keep dreaming, and your thoughts needs to be less than an hour. I agree with that. And number 4, light exposure. We all know you need to have sun, exposed to sun, which gives you vitamin D, which is really good for your body. So basically, you need to expose to the sunlight during awakening hours. Most of the folks, I don't know how, when you're nowadays, when you're busy with your work, you're mostly indoors. You don't get exposed to the 1 hour of sunlight outside. But his recommendation is very well accepted. You need to have an exposure to sun for 1 hour. I would do it. Yes, because it's good for your mind and body. I agree with that. And number 5, awakening technology. Abstain from frivolous use of technology in the first hour of the day when you wake up. Stop turning the TV on and with your phones. You need to be idle. I definitely go along. You really need to be idle. This is where your meditation comes in, folks. I recommend it only 20 minutes of meditation, idle meditation, and you can do another 20 minutes of yoga at the same time with meditation. So do not turn the TV on. I fully agree with that. Don't turn the TV and your mobile phones as soon as you wake up. A lot of people do check your emails. A lot of, your mind is so preoccupied with technology stuff. He basically wants you to be mindful of, for your body, you need to be idle and you need to be internalized and focus on your within. No problem with that. Awakening technology. Number 6, if it comes to food, he mentions balance your food with 2,000 to 3,000 calories with macro and micronutrients. What he's saying is macronutrients is mostly, you're talking about limiting your carbs. There are a lot of millets I would recommend. I would limit the carbs, more of millets like raw nuts, and less of meat. If you want to have a meat, yes, it has to be balanced. But I would recommend, there are a lot of proteins in the millets, folks. A lot of folks don't understand that. Millets are full of proteins and they're essential proteins for the body. What we eat meat, it may be okay, but I would not really go after the meats. You can balance it. If you like having meat, go for it. There's no problem with that. But micronutrients, what he's trying to say is minerals, like, you need to have certain, simple nutrients like vitamin E, vitamin D, and vitamin B complex. Again, these are all available with a balanced diet. A lot of vegetables. Nowadays, with people growing their own vegetables in-house with aquaponics, I daily recommend having salads, organic salads, which has a lot of nutrients, folks, a lot of fiber, which you don't, it's not artificial. I would encourage people to grow their own vegetables at home through aquaponics. Get to know what aquaponics is. I would love to do that, which gives you an organic food, organic vegetables with a lot of nutrients. I agree with that statement. 2,000 to 3,000 calories, which is balanced. What is next? When he is talking about the bowel movements, having a single bowel movement upon awakening, it's a good idea. How do you do it? There are folks out there that sitting in front of the TV and not doing anything. They keep dreaming, and your thoughts needs to be less than an hour. I agree with that. And number 4, light exposure. We all know you need to have sun, exposed to sun, which gives you vitamin D, which is really good for your body. So basically, you need to expose to the sunlight during awakening hours. Most of the folks, I don't know how, when you're nowadays, when you're busy with your work, you're mostly indoors. You don't get exposed to the 1 hour of sunlight outside. But his recommendation is very well accepted. You need to have an exposure to sun for 1 hour. I would do it. Yes, because it's good for your mind and body. I agree with that. And number 5, awakening technology. Abstain from frivolous use of technology in the first hour of the day when you wake up. Stop turning the TV on and with your phones. You need to be idle. I definitely go along. You really need to be idle. This is where your meditation comes in, folks. I recommend it only 20 minutes of meditation, idle meditation, and you can do another 20 minutes of yoga at the same time with meditation. So do not turn the TV on. I fully agree with that. Don't turn the TV and your mobile phones as soon as you wake up. A lot of people do check your emails. A lot of, your mind is so preoccupied with technology stuff. He basically wants you to be mindful of, for your body, you need to be idle and you need to be internalized and focus on your within. No problem with that. Awakening technology. Number 6, if it comes to food, he mentions balance your food with 2,000 to 3,000 calories with macro and micronutrients. What he's saying is macronutrients is mostly, you're talking about limiting your carbs. There are a lot of millets I would recommend. I would limit the carbs, more of millets like raw nuts, and less of meat. If you want to have a meat, yes, it has to be balanced. But I would recommend, there are a lot of proteins in the millets, folks. A lot of folks don't understand that. Millets are full of proteins, and they're essential proteins for the body. What we eat meat, it may be okay, but I would not really go after the meats. You can balance it. If you like having meat, go for it. There's no problem with that. But micronutrients, what he's trying to say is minerals. Like, you need to have certain, simple nutrients like vitamin E, vitamin D, and vitamin B complex. Again, these are all available with a balanced diet. A lot of vegetables. Nowadays, with people growing their own vegetables in-house with aquaponics, I daily recommend having salads, organic salads, which has a lot of nutrients, folks, a lot of fiber, which you don't, it's not artificial. I would encourage people to grow their own vegetables at home through aquaponics. Get to know what aquaponics is. I would love to do that, which gives you an organic food, organic vegetables with a lot of nutrients. I agree with that statement. 2,000 to 3,000 calories, which is balanced. What is next? When he is talking about the bowel movements, having a single bowel movement upon awakening, it's a good idea. How do you do it? That's the problem. With the diets, what we have, it's hard. But I can recommend you. If you eat a lot of salads, lot of raw nuts, I would advise you to have a flaxseed, which is nothing but flaxseed is available, folks. Flaxseed with cinnamon and a little bit of. I normally have three very like a small spoonful of flaxseed, 2 small spoonful of cinnamon, and 1 small spoon of turmeric. That regulates me. Yeah, I do that. One bowel movement a day. I do that. That will regulate your bowel movements, folks. Get up in the morning. Very first thing I have this flaxseed, cinnamon, and turmeric. It just keeps me running to the bathroom to have a BM, bowel movement. Yes, I agree with that. And number 8, intermittent fasting. In Western civilization, we don't hear much about intermittent fasting, but it is well recommended. It is recommended by a lot of physicians. How you do it, it all depends on how you do it. Normally, in Asian countries, they recommend once a week fasting. Skip having lunch. Just skip having lunch and dinner if you can do that. But it's tough. You need a lot of self-control to skip a meal for an entire day. But the other way to do is you can have an early meal at 5 in the evening and wait till next day. That also gives you 16 hours of fasting. So you're not eating anything in between for 16 hours. So if you do it 5 in the morning, 12 hours, add another 4, have late breakfast like 10 o'clock. So you have 16 hours of fasting. You can do that too, but I would recommend once a week fasting if you have a lot of self-control. And what is next? I would breathing. Breathing, number 9 is breathing. He basically is mentioning about when you say breathing, it is basically when you do the breathing exercises, inhalation and exhalation. Basically, it's a yoga breathing where you have to inhale and stretch your breathing at least for a minute, inhalation and exhalation. You can put your timer and you can stretch it. That's how you end up doing this meditation anyway. If you do stretching breathing exercises, you will be doing breathing. So it is a part of your routine log. When you do the exercise, you do the breathing. And the same thing with yoga. It is a part of your routine. When you do the yoga, you do the breathing exercises. And yoga practice with, there are several asanas. You can simplify it. If you want to do some complicated asanas, you can look into it and Google it. There are a lot of asanas, folks. Yoga gives a positive mind and mindful experience. There's no doubt about it. Yoga. Sauna. I do it personally, but I don't know how often people can do a sauna. Sauna is basically to sweat, to get rid of your bad nutrients from your body. Skin is an element. You breathe through the skin. A lot of people have no idea, but you can get rid of the bad elements through the skin also. In addition to the bowel movements, skin also, you can use that to get rid of the bad nutrients through sweat, either by exercise, by sauna, how you do it. sauna is not practical for a lot of folks, but you can do exercise, strenuous exercise, you can sweat. But sauna is a good thing, yes. Number 12, aerobic training, cardiovascular exercises. We all have to do that at least for 20 minutes. You don't need much. 20 minutes of cardiovascular, bicycling, walking, brisk walking, anything you can do to a cardiovascular, to improve your cardiovascular. What you're doing is ideal. The principle behind is you have to bring up your heart rate to 120 for 20 minutes. If you can do that, you pass the test. 120 heart rate for 20 minutes, folks. That's all you need. How you do it, where you do it, I don't care. That's what your goal, intent of cardiovascular exercise is, 20 minutes of cardiovascular. Number 13, strengthening exercises by stretching. Yoga does the same thing. When you do the yoga, it gives you a lot of stretching exercise. You can all do that stretching exercises. And outdoor. What is the outdoor exercise? Expose yourself to the outdoors environments. Yes, we all recommend. You really need to, the way I would recommend is walking or brisk walking for 20 minutes outdoors. I know a lot of people go to gym and do cardiovascular. It's fine, but nothing like walking outdoors, especially in the sun for 20 minutes. And that gives you an endorphin release, folks. When I say endorphins, Google it. Google the endorphin release. When you do cardiovascular, when you do the physical exercise, when you do stretching exercise, you're giving the endorphin release. Endorphins are good for your body, and it's like having a cup of coffee. It makes you feel good. That's what it does, exposing yourself to the outdoors. It is a feeling of being good by exposing to the outdoor. Next thing, Vidya Reddy. That's his routine log. I'm going through his log. And I recommend it. For folks, have it, put it in your logbook and just mark it how many things you have done. The next one here, 15. I'm at 15. Human touch. Expose yourself. And what he's saying is, I looked at, physical interaction. That's what he's saying is physical interaction is good for the body and mind. I've looked at the oxytocin. Oxytocin is a love hormone, so-called love hormone, which is a feel-good hormone. It is secreted by the pituitary gland and it releases. It's more produced in women than men, but oxytocin, when you have a physical interaction, you have oxytocin release by your pituitary. But in addition to that, you will also have a dopamine levels raised in your brain. When you feel good, when you have a social, like when you pet an animal, you have a lot of dopamine release. That's why they recommend it's good to have pets, because it gives you rising dopamine. It also makes you feel good. So, hey, let's do that. So, human touch, family interaction is good for you. Interact with your... Basically, what Vidya is trying to say is you need to have a good family values. You need to have... you need to have role models in your family. That's what he's trying. You need to have interaction with your sister, brother, you name it, folks, your father, mother. You need to have a family structure to improve your body and mind spirit. And social interaction, it's also critical. Social interaction with your friends. It's not the same. Family interaction is different from social. Social interaction, you're getting along with your peers, your buddies, and you need to balance it. You need to balance your family and your social interactive skills. A lot of things nowadays, they're on the mobile phone, interacting with your friends on your mobile. Uh, that is different, folks. I'm talking about, that's why they recommend you need to have a schools reopen, because we need an physical interaction, physically, not by mobile technology. Mobile technologies, you're wasting your time, folks. I would recommend physical interaction. Yes, he's right. Vijay is right. Family, social interaction. And number 18, this is good. Non-consumerist. Non-consumerist. What he's basically saying, don't waste. Abstain from frivolous expenditure. Unnecessary, wasting. A lot of people waste so much stuff. They waste the food, they waste they spend money on frivolous things. You need to be, this is for your mind, folks. You need to balance it. You have to, don't be wasteful. That's what Vidya is trying to say. And what the other, number 19, expression. Your expression. Number 19, you need to express. This is what I'm doing right now. Creative expression. Participate in creative outlet. How you do it, it doesn't matter. Creativity, it's important. That's what he's trying to say. You need to be creative in your lifestyle. Come up with creative ideas. And number 20, artistic appreciation. Artistic appreciation, you need to either appreciate it or create some hobbies. Come up with artistic. You can be artistic by yourself, and you can appreciate the art. Appreciate the art and beauty of the nature. There are a lot of things. You can do it if you want to do it on your computer, but I would say nothing like being physically appreciative of the art outside. Number 21, foreign language. I never thought about this. Foreign language. It's a good one. You need to learn. You see, Americans know only one language. I encourage almost all Americans to learn additional languages. Like Spanish is good for you. French, great. German, you can learn a few other languages. Nowadays, with the technology, you can learn any language, folks. It's easy, with the mobile technology. When you go to the Google Translate, practice some of the words. We need Spanish anyway, so we need to learn Spanish, everybody. Number 22, memorial expression. Express memories of the past, about the past. Memorial expression, which is good for your body and mind. Verbal expression, or either document it, do whatever you want. Memorial expression of your past. And yes, it is good for your body and mind. Yes, I have no qualms with that. And historical appreciation. A lot of people don't do this. Historical, I commend Vidya for coming up with all these things. This routine log, it turns out to be interesting. I never thought of, I don't do much of historical appreciation because I don't have time. But he's right. You need to appreciate the history, folks. There's no doubt about it. A lot of times we are all busy with our lifestyle, but you need to balance it. That's the beauty about balance your appreciation to the past and about your history. This is the one I like the most, which is number 24, is philanthropy. A lot of folks don't do this. But, one thing I've noticed is in the Western culture, this is an invaluable element I've noticed in the Western civilization, where I'm not sure what has got to do with philanthropy. A lot of folks are into giving, whatever. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't need to be monetary. It can be voluntary. You have to give before you can take. That is a good element to have an individual. You have to be giving without expecting back in rewards and compensation. You have to be giving. It makes your mind more peaceful within yourself. It gratifies you. That's why you became a doctor. It gratifies you. You're giving. That's why I recommend even the healthcare profession, see some of the people who are not insured. It is good for you. It's a gratification you get. I used to do a lot. I used to see people without insurance. I had no problems giving. So that's one of the reasons why the doctors are good at giving. Healthcare professionals are good at giving because that's how that made them doctors. They feel gratified with their profession. I wish the other profession did the same by giving whatever the talent is. And number 25, this one I'll go along with. Abstain from frivolous use of technology last 2 hours of the day. Spend reading or be mindful of what you do 2 hours before you go to sleep. I would definitely recommend this. Is people are so used to, switching the TV on and watching movies and this, that. But at the same time, his recommendation, I would turn the TV on. When the kids were little, we used to do that. You can't watch TV. We used to have a good, we used to spend the time as a family. So the TV is good for you, but it's a distraction, folks. You can watch it. I'm not discouraging from watching unnecessary television, but you need to balance. 2 hours before you sleep, catch up with your reading, catch up with your hobbies, catch up with your, appreciation for technology, appreciation with your history, memorial. It doesn't matter. Create some hobbies. Spend some time for yourself without distractions. I'll definitely love it. The last but not the least is number 26, folks. Hygiene. We all do that. Brushing your teeth and awakening, and brushing before going to sleep, and flossing. Yes, personal hygiene is very critical. This is where, as a consumer's doctor on the behalf of the Foremost organization, this is why I started this so-called healthcare segment, folks. Personal responsibility. It's so critical because health is platinum. Health gives wealth. A lot of people tend to take health for granted. This is an asset, folks. This is an asset. Take care of your health. Balance it. I will definitely embrace this routine log. Folks, if you guys are listening, I will put it on my my YouTube segment of this routine log, and you can follow this and keep it and follow this on a daily basis, and it gives you a balance between mind and body. That is very critical, folks. Thanks for listening. If you like this, subscribe, share, and touch that bell. Thank you, guys. This is from Foremost Organization. Salute. Bye.